Through the Gates is produced under the support of the Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management to enhance, promote, and defend the North American model of wildlife conservation and responsible wildlife management. That's our mission. We're engaged in fighting at every level so that wildlife management remains science-based and conservation continues to work for our wildlife. To learn more and join the movement, visit SaveTheHuntColorado.com. The North American model of wildlife conservation is the greatest conservation model in the world. It's a success story that should be shared and celebrated because everybody is a part of it.
Dan Gates, welcome back to the Mountainside.
Thank you very much.
It's been too long, first of all.
You've been traveling around the world. You're like a celebrity now, you know?
I don't know about that, man.
Well, you're running from the law, maybe.
No, luckily not that anymore. I used to all the time. It was like, it was crazy. But sorry, I'm going to try to wash my mouth here because we're co-releasing this too. I need to be a little bit better with that. So
it'd be like that.
Well, maybe we'll bleep that part out.
Japanese voiceover.
Right. But it's great to see you, man. I know you've been running and gunning like crazy.
Yeah.
I have been too with the new business setup and everything that's going on. But man, I am so thrilled to have you back in here.
Thanks.
I'm so thrilled to have you still fighting on wildlife policy after the painstaking stuff that you go through personally. Even though you haven't been in studio, we still talk.
Oh yeah,
every other week at least, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like a bi-weekly conversation. And
yeah.
Typically, we should just record those phone conversations. Well, maybe not.
Maybe not. no. There's a lot. There will be a lot of Japanese voiceover.
Yeah. But man, since you started Through the Gates, and I know that we're co-releasing this episode, it has taken such a weight off of my shoulders here at the Mountainside.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to talk about wildlife policy or I don't have the brain power. I don't have the brain power that you do.
You can send them to that.
That's exactly what I do. So like anytime somebody comes in and a guest asks me, they're like, what's going on with wildlife policy? And I go, Tyler, pull up Through the Gates.
Yeah.
This is the best podcast to go and listen to on Colorado wildlife policy.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm thrilled to have you back in here. I guess because I've been so busy and traveling, I haven't really had a chance to catch up with Through the Gates through maybe the last like 5 or 6 episodes.
Right.
Which I'm an avid listener, so they're in my queue, and I know how many I'm down.
So we haven't bored you to death yet?
No, man. No? Your guests are awesome.
Yeah.
Like the old guy that fought a mountain lion with the 2x4. Like, if you haven't listened to that, it's not just wildlife policy, too. Right. Like, your guest list is just some really amazing people.
We've been fortunate, and while we're trying to transition from utilizing and piggybacking off of you and other locations, you know, Sean Ender, our cinematographer, our producer, has been great. But he's got a family, and he's a firefighter, and he's got other things going on. And trying to coordinate that with us finishing building our studio, which, I mean, that was a major project because we built a building and put a studio in the building. And that was none of this was planned crap to start with. And so we've escalated our opportunity for appearance and enhancing our messaging capabilities beyond what I didn't ever plan on doing a podcast, let alone, you know, putting a building together. My wife is like, okay, so we're not doing windows in the house this year, we're doing a building. And I'm like, yeah, and we're not doing the stucco on the house this year, we're doing a building. And so adding all that stuff up, it just kind of complements what you allowed us to piggyback off of you for a year and get us to another level to where I think we're just going into our 86th episode in a year.
That's so awesome, man. Yeah.
You know, we worked our butts off, but we did 86 episodes during the 52 weeks of the 127 campaign. So between everybody else's podcast and what we've done with Through the Gates, I mean, that's like 172 episodes in, 2 years.
You're kicking our ass.
Well, I mean, we don't have the following you have. We don't have the fighters and the good-looking tattooed people that you have. We get guys.
You can have them. Yeah. Trust me. Like, you just call me. Anybody you want on the guest list on the Mountainside, you're part of the community, and that's what the Mountainside is about for me. I only let certain people into the circle.
Yeah.
And I'm honored to be a part of Through the Gates and be able to help that. And man, you're just a machine. Like,
I still have a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah,
yeah, and
I love that.
I think that's part of the Maybe that's where the fighter mentality. I never was a professional fighter, but I would always I'd get my ass kicked, but I'd throw down with anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough now. I'd prefer not to do that. That's why I play politics.
Yeah.
But there's a level of enthusiasm and endurance that goes along with that, and it's just I don't believe in quitting and giving up. You just keep chugging forward. That's not always the smartest thing to do. But it's the most logical thing for what we have to deal with in Colorado right now.
Yeah, and it was funny, man. I was just talking about this like 2 episodes or 3 episodes ago, and I can't remember exactly who I had in. That's how busy I've been. But we got on the subject of like fighters and just people in general, and how like all the professional fighters I know, they're the last guy you'd find in a bar fight. Or in an alley fight, right? Because they're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, having that sort of mentality, like, you're fighting for a reason, man.
Yeah, and I think,
money.
There comes a time when you have to figure out what's most important, and the way that politics is played out in Colorado and the Western United States, for that matter. I mean, Colorado is not by itself. It's just that Colorado has a significant amount of attacks going from many, many, many different levels. New Mexico has the same challenges. Now they're talking about Wyoming, for crying out loud. Look at Idaho and Washington, Oregon, what's going on in Arizona and California. I mean, this is not a one-off. Mm-hmm. It's just that we have a gubernatorial administration and a general assembly, a general legislature that has not been favorable to a lot of things that Coloradans as a whole have stood for, and the tradition and the heritage that goes along with that. But when you have elected officials, you have to live with the consequences, or you have to turn around and figure out how you're going to survive until you get other elected officials, period. And most people don't play that game. And that's how we get taken advantage of. And that's how things get, we could talk about a variety of things today, but the stuff that is being introduced through the legislature and that is filtering over to the Parks and Wildlife Commission, and what's happening at the State Land Board, and what's happening through the Department of Agriculture, and what's happening through the Department of Health. These are not one-offs. This is an attempt to change the way Colorado is, but there's many other people in many other states that are trying to change their states as well.
Yeah, firearms and gun policy, like that's
you
another thing.
See the prostitution law they just brought up?
Yeah.
They want to turn around and make prostitution legal. And maybe somebody thinks that's right. Maybe somebody thinks it's wrong. But don't we have more important things to worry about besides if you're going to have the ability to pay for sex?
Not to mention what you're going on, like you still have, I don't even really want to get into this, but you talk about human trafficking and some of the stuff that like Jeremiah Wilbur's doing and like
Heidi
War
Stout.
Party movement. And there's so many people, all these churches around here. That's like their big thing that they're pushing.
Yep.
Man, I hate to say it, man. It's good versus evil when you're looking at some of these policies.
When you and I started these conversations, it was specifically about one subject.
Yeah.
Now, all these things were still going on at many different levels, but the one subject was Initiative 91 that became 101, that became Proposition 127, and then Ordinance 308, the fur ban came out of that. That's the nucleus that brought you and I together, and that invigorated and cauterized the community and the nation to some degree, because they're the ones that helped generate millions of dollars to be able to turn around and fight these efforts and beat them. But we're still fighting them. We're still fighting them at other levels. And we're fighting them on many different levels to the point to where the gun stuff is elevating. Mm-hmm. We look at the fur bear stuff or the mountain lion stuff or the wolf stuff or anything. I mean, there's so many pieces of legislation and attempts on a lame duck governor to get out of office on January 12th, 2027. But what he can do between now and then is pretty remarkable given the people that he's got on his side and the partisan relationships that are there on the Democrat side of the aisle.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It's a freaking mess. And it seems like it's Colorado, from a national standpoint, is almost a test market for some of these gun laws, if they can pass it here, they're just going to move to our bordering states or the next most probable state that has the biggest left-leaning
You hear
side,
over
right?
and over and over, this would be the first time in the history of the United States. This is the first. We are pioneers. This is the first time, and I'm like, why do we got to be the first time on everything? How about trying? I mean, when you start looking at we're the first time when California hasn't done it yet, or we're the second time when we have followed California. When Jason Mikesell was in your studio that I interviewed, that's running for governor, Teller County Sheriff, and he said multiple times through his advertisements and what he does through him running that I want my Colorado back. I'm not so sure it's his Colorado. I think it's a lot of people's Colorado. But even some more liberally minded individuals that are left of center, but not far left, they're like, what happened to my Colorado? I mean, when they start talking that way, and you see that legislatively and you see it otherwise, I think that's that middle of the road, independent, unaffiliated voter that is like, okay, well, I'm not far left and I'm not far right, but I'm somewhere in the middle, and by God, you're somewhere in the middle too. Can't we turn around and figure out some way to be in the middle?
I would say that's 95% of Mountainside listeners too. We have people that don't hunt. We have people that hunt. We have people that are avid hunters. But it seems like we have the extremists that come on and throw some grenades into our comments and stuff, but we don't read that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, like everybody's pretty much has common sense, and we get a lot of like thank yous from those sort of people on both sides of the fence. And I read all of those, like, especially if it's submitted through our website.
Right.
That's a huge thing. Like, I'm going to go and read that. It's almost like fan mail. If you took the time to go in, find that link, find the email, and actually send an email, I'm going to read it. You throw something in the comments, I'm not going to read it. And 9 times out of 10, when I do go in and we look at some of those comments, or I see something like really, really escalating, you know, my audience takes care of, kind of manages it itself.
You got an army there now that's helping out.
Which is awesome. On both sides of the fence, which is cool. But when somebody throws like a grenade in there and is just like totally right-leaning or totally left-leaning, when you go and search it, and more on the left-leaning side, the extreme left, they don't follow us. They have no followers. It's some sort of bot, or it's a fake account.
They become like a troll.
Their name, 100%.
You know, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I want to give an example because, you know, when we first got together, we were about, and I refer to this often, but we were about the biggest knuckle dragging Neanderthals you could get when it came to this stuff. If I didn't have Sean Ender in our group at that time, we would be way behind the scenes, way behind the link. And so when I look at our stuff that we've done, and this is just an example to show how far we've actually come. If you look at the stuff that we've posted, for example,
do you want us to pull it up on the screen?
Yeah,
so the listeners can see.
Yeah, go to the Instagram at CRWM.
Damn, Tyler.
Yeah, and then go down.
Along, buddy.
Yeah, he's pretty quick, isn't he? Go down. So the wolf one right there on the left.
Oh, other one.
Yeah. Sorry. Look at that one. That's just it's a story, but we put that up yesterday. It's actually 23 hours old. It's got 267,000 views in 23 hours. Man. It's got 900 comments.
That's what you want.
Yeah, because we're providing news. It's not just our rhetoric and our BS that you know, you don't have to listen to me. This is all the stuff that we're kicking out. You look at the amount of stories, look at the amount of content that we're kicking out, that we're getting interaction on. Now, we're drawing some negativity from our opposition. But then, like you said, our minions or our sausage-making group on the side turns around and comes in and does some protection. It's because they're speaking, because they're realizing that the people are attacking them just as much as they're attacking us, because us is them, and all of us are sportsmen and women.
Well, the thing I love about you, and I want to commend you on, that we've never had is like in the wildlife policy area that I know of, is like when something like this goes down, it almost turns into a fight, right?
Yeah.
Like a yelling match, right? Online, whatever, in the comments, sometimes in public, right? If you're got a protest going on or something. But everything that you've put out, you're like, you don't have to listen to me.
No.
It's right here in the wildlife biology or Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Go down one line on that, Tyler.
All you're doing is telling the truth, Dan. And
the next, on the post. No, a separate post. Go down. So right there on the far right, where the guy's talking to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. I mean, that was done in 2024. But look at the comments that we're getting on that right now. 82,000 views since we put it up. It's a 2-year-old takeout of what the expert at Colorado Parks and Wildlife mentioned about mountain lions when we were fighting. But those issues are still the same. You look at that lady getting killed tragically up there on the Fort Collins area. These things still are pointful and taken seriously because it's science. People are still coming out and attacking CPW. People are coming out and attacking me. People are coming out and attacking us. I'm looking at it and going, who are you actually fighting for and what are you fighting for? Because these are the experts. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Bobby Marshall. Don't listen to the opposition. Listen to the experts, and the experts draw criticism because they're right, and the people that don't want them to be right are trying to do everything they can possibly do to undermine every single thing they do, period. They don't want us to harvest it, but they don't want them to manage it. They think that should just go along like everything got off in Noah's Ark and turned around and started breeding on its own, and we don't have to worry about people.
And I love you, buddy. It's crazy. It's a crazy way to think. But what I want to commend you on is like, I don't have anybody on here that I know is a blatant liar or lying about something. I don't care if they're on my side or not, on politics or policy or whatever I believe in. I want the truth on the mountainside. And you have done nothing but that with Through the Gates, all your campaigning that you've done, anything at the commission meetings. Like, that's probably why you're still here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is you're just a truthful, honest human being telling the truth, and the organization.
I want people
to
understand the reason that we have what we have, and people can have different opinions and perspectives, and things can be left for interpretation. However, what I said at the last commission meeting when I waited to get up and testify, I said something to the effect, and probably not verbatim, but if somebody wants to go back and correct me and see if they fact check me, I'm wrong.
Make sure you're telling the truth, Dan.
But it was something to the effect of people have opinions because of what they hear, and they have perspectives of what they see. But facts are facts, and statutes and regulations and studies and data and compilations are facts. And if you read 33.1.101, which is the mission of Colorado Parks and Wildlife, that's fact. It's in statute. There's no interpretation for that. That's what it is. Just like I reference all the time about the difference between a stop sign and a yield sign. The stop sign doesn't mean yield. It means freaking stop.
Sometimes it means yield for me.
Well, it depends on if you're trying to go through. But a roundabout doesn't say stop. A roundabout says yield. Why the hell does everybody stop?
Or straight ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, which I've seen that. But getting people to understand, you and I can have a difference of opinion. I can have a difference of opinion with my adversaries. And I said this, I think, on the Alaska Wildlife podcast when I was at Sheep Show that just came out, and they actually let us do a release as well. It just recently came out. The people that I'm fighting for you and me and wildlife are no less passionate about the subject matter than what we are. I think that more often than not, they're uneducated. I think they don't know the facts and the data. I don't think that they fully comprehend why we have what we have and where it came from. But they're no less passionate. It's just that we have a different perspective. We have difference of opinions. However, I'm willing to turn around and rely on the experts and go to the facts. They're not. They want their opinions and perspectives, and they leave out the facts. They continually turn around and try to undermine the North American model of wildlife conservation and interpret it for their reasoning. They continually try to undermine the mission of Colorado Parks and Wildlife, 33.1.101, the statutory regulation that CPW has to go by. It's their interpretation. It is not interpretation in that. Interpretation of how I do what I do, okay, you can have your perspective and opinion. But when you turn around and look at the other stuff, what are we arguing about other than opinions and perspectives? And they don't want to argue about the facts. They just want to turn around and change it.
I know. That it's like they're trying to change the science. And if you took the left and the right out of it completely, right, or two sides, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. If it's wrong, it's wrong, right? If it was the extreme right that was trying to cull every mountain lion on the mountain, that would be just as bad, and we'd be fighting against that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think that where we've gotten, I did a podcast, I think it was episode 80 of ours, the Through the Gates. And Sean did a fabulous job of editing some of the sound bites from The First Gentleman and from some of my adversaries, Mark Searles and Samantha Miller, with Project Coyote and Cats Aren't Trophies. Now she works for the Center for Biological Diversity. But he did a fabulous job of editing because on some of them it sounded like I was in the room rebutting what one of them said off of their podcast. It wasn't what I quoted, it's what we played back of what they said. Mm-hmm. And if you look at how some of that language came about, they really, really honestly believe what they say. And then I think that there's some misguided direction on some things that they're not really sure what they believe, or they don't really understand the logistics or some of the reasonability of some things, but they really believe what they say.
The thing is they're not getting their facts from anything factual, right? Maybe a BBC documentary right?
Or like interpretation of things I've heard more often than not, just like right after the election of 127 in 2024, when they went to the commission 2 weeks after and turned around and tried to interject their philosophy on revamping the East Slope Mountain Lion Management Plan and getting the commission to turn around in some way think about reversing what the will of the people just did. Because they said, well, okay, yeah, that wasn't as what we didn't win like what we expected, but the people really meant for you to do this. Okay, that's not really the case. The people meant for them to turn around and not prohibit the sale of fur or not prohibit the harvest of mountain lions and bobcats. They have a way of saying, well, that's not what people meant. But they don't say that when it comes to the wolf side of things because that's what they got. I'm at a point now to where we've roughly got about 11 months left of this governor. And we've got multiple things at the legislature, and we've got multiple things at the commission, and we've got multiple things that the governor is going to continually trying to impose or restrict or prohibit. I don't know what his capabilities are of executive orders, but look what a president does when they go out and they turn around and make a bunch of executive orders to change things. It gets
Western. These are the worst times to have a politician in office, honestly.
Yeah, especially
because
a politician that's agenda driven.
Yeah,
that has their plan of action. And you talk about happy wife, happy life. Well, I think that's the case in the governor's office right now.
Sure.
When you turn around and look at the first gentleman,
it's not a happy wife.
Yeah, it's
happy husband.
Yeah, happy. Yeah. What's rhymed with husband? I don't know. I don't know what that rhymes with. Right. I can't make a nursery rhyme up about that. I don't know what that is. But Marlon Reese has got a particular affliction about consumptive use, whether it's domestic or wild. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't think for any reason that things should be harvested, whether it's for avocational pursuit. He might say that he doesn't mind the food side of it, but if you listen to what he said during that podcast that I turned around and quoted on episode 80, food is political. And I mentioned this during the Alaskan Wildlife podcast.
That makes me so mad. You're going to make my blood boil
I know.
right now. Yeah.
I mean, we all know that food is political. No, we don't.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. It's necessary.
Nobody should be able to tell me that I can't plant an apple tree in my backyard.
Or that I shouldn't be able to turn around and take a regulated license from Colorado Parks and Wildlife to attempt to go harvest what I decide to eat for myself or use for myself. Food is not political. And as soon as you get politicians or politicians' spouses and relatives who are agenda-driven on different levels talking about the politicalization of different components of everyday necessity in life, I find that tragically overstated and almost undermining to how do we live a life that we want to live. When you're talking about food is political. If food is political, what the hell are guns? Come on. We have to have some sort of reasonability, and I think that shows the logic and the underestimating of people to realize just where these things and these conversations go.
It's scary as shit to me, because we're just riding a razor's edge, I feel like, with all this policy.
On everything.
Right?
And everybody's looking at Colorado.
Yeah.
On a variety of different things.
One little hiccup or one little mistake or one bad turn, it can almost turn into a landslide. It's almost an avalanche effect, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Because if they can get a few things through, then it's like, okay, now our test market is good. Let's flood it.
Look at the rifle barrel ban.
Yeah.
You're going to have to turn around and do a background check through a federal firearms dealer to get a rifle barrel.
But that's not even on the federal level. That's not even mandated on the federal level, right? That's just Colorado.
It would be the first in the country. We can do first in the country again.
Is the NRA or any of these like organizations stepping up to the plate on that? Like,
well, I mean, I know that multiple organizations.
You can't take on all that. You're trying to fight wildlife policy, is what I'm getting at.
And that's the thing is there's some pushback, but I think this is a prime example that other states should be aware of, that when you have such an agenda-driven mentality from specific individuals, organizations, and entities, most organizations can fight or rebut something. But to fight and rebut 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 different things at the same time, they weren't prepared for that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that we as CRWM are prepared for all that on the wildlife side, but we've been forced to do that in a manner that other organizations weren't prepared for, or they didn't think that was going to happen. And if you didn't engage when you needed to engage, it would have happened anyway. I think that's what the gun industry, to some degree, maybe got caught with their pants down, not realizing what Senator Tom Sullivan's vendetta was toward people's right to bear arms. Mm-hmm. And, well, we're not going to do that. It's not our intent to do that. We're not going to take that away. Well, they're doing it, and they're doing it in incremental steps. Who'd have ever thought that we would be talking about Colorado Parks and Wildlife doing essentially the permitting for a semi-automatic weapon?
Because they need another thing to do.
Yeah, because they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
I mean, but they're mandated to do it just like what they were on wolves. Mm-hmm. They're mandated to do it just because the governor turns around and allows things to happen in that manner. I think that Senator Sullivan, and from my understanding, he's not rerunning. He's not running again. And I'm not saying we're going to be able to reverse everything that Tom Sullivan's been able to accomplish. But people have to wake up and smell the roses, because if we're going to turn around and start this hypothetically here, if we're going to start regulating parts of weaponry, I mean, who's to say, okay, you can have a lawnmower, but you can't have a blade on it. You can turn around and have a stove, but you can't have pots to cook on the stove. I mean, it's similar to that in the sense to where that barrel will do nothing other than sit there by itself. And one of the examples that we gave to some individuals was, the amount of people that go out trap shooting and competition shooting, and they're doing it in schools, and they're doing it in 4-H clubs, and they're doing it in different sectors of the state. A lot of those guns can be interchangeable barrels because they're trap and skeet. Maybe they're modified or improved or whatever. There's chokes that go in some of them, but a lot of them are different barrels, different lengths, different thicknesses, and different sights and stuff. So you're telling me an 18-year-old kid who's doing competition shooting needs to do a background check for every barrel of his shotgun? And the discussion that we even heard, that people had asked, well, if you're buying a gun and it's got a barrel on it, do you need to do 2 background checks? This is the lunacy that we're talking about. Right. Now, whether you're pro-gun or anti-gun, we have the facts, the Constitution. It's not for interpretation. Just like what I don't believe that 33-1-101 for Colorado Parks and Wildlife is for interpretation. It's factual. You might have an opinion. You might have a perspective. But the fact is the fact, and I don't think that our current legislature is going along with a lot of the facts.
Yeah,
this is a different conversation than
to
fighting.
Me, because it's almost like the cup game, right? It's
the shell game or the cup game.
The shell game, the cup game, the beer pong game.
Yeah, it's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, it is smoke and mirrors, really.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, and it's almost like a diversion type thing, and then it doesn't help with all these recent active shooter situations and suicide and all this like crazy stuff. There's so many problems, but gun policy doesn't fix any of those.
No,
in my opinion,
they're addressing legally responsible citizens, and they're impeding their ability for their access to firearms or the right to bear arms. And I don't care how you look at it. I mean, you can interpret that however you want. But if you're trying to impede something from people to be able to buy something that has already been accessible, it's not like you're saying, okay, well, lasers are available to the general public. I'm talking like burning lasers to the general public.
Right.
Now we're going to have, before we sell them to the general public, we're going to turn around and have a background check or some sort of a test or whatever. We've got firearms that have been around for the last 125, 150 years. If somebody wants to hurt somebody, in my opinion, they're going to continue to do that. I don't care if they use a car or fertilizer or a knife.
It's almost more dangerous. Like, look at some of our Middle Eastern adversaries.
Yeah.
What did they resort to? Car bombs, suicide bombs. You're just escalating more death.
Yeah.
In my opinion, too.
I think we haven't, personally, there again, opinion, not fact.
Right.
Maybe it is fact, and I just don't know about the study or the data. But I think that in the last 20-some-odd years, we've seen a reversal of common sense and logic, accountability, transparency, responsibility with the general public for a variety of different reasons. And I think that politics has played a significant role into that divisiveness and how that's created such animosity from one individual to another just because they affiliate themselves as a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a socialist, a communist, a progressive, conservative, whatever. I think that it's actually created such turmoil in individuals' minds because it pisses them off so bad at so many different levels that you get the hot topic button type stuff that people are passionate about. Just like what we're talking about on these firearms, what we're talking about on hunting and fishing, talking about food is political. Well, I tell you what, if politicians start getting into that and tell us when we can eat and what we can eat and where we can eat and how much we can eat and what we can have, there's going to be a lot more people wanting to turn around and exercise.
Got a Soviet Union situation at that point.
They're going to want to exercise their Second Amendment rights, I'll tell you that. Because there has to be some logic and an ability to explain yourself for whatever reason. And, with CRWM, we have a lobbying representation at the Capitol, and we have since 2017. We were formulated in 16. I'm dealing with more politicians at this point in time than I ever thought that I would when I was in my 30s and 40s. I'm having conversations with higher level ranking politicians about a variety of different things, along with our lobbyists. Some of it is extremely pertinent and important to our listeners and our viewers and people that are following us that we signed up to represent on the CRWM side. Some of it you just look and go, somebody's got to say something. It's not even really in our wheelhouse, but it's like nobody else is saying anything. Somebody has to say something. And then when you bring it to people's attention, they're more often than not like, I didn't know about that. When did they do that?
It's so crazy. I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at with that first question. Maybe we need to come back to this. And I know that we're co-releasing this episode, so this is just as much for you as it is for me. So you drive the conversation wherever you want this to go. But just to catch me up and our listeners, especially on the Mountainside, because we put out so many different episodes. Like a lot of our episodes are feel-good episodes.
Yeah.
All these last two, or this one and the previous one, probably not so much, because I want to do some impactful stuff, right? I want to do some impactful things for the community. So to catch the listeners up, even though that you and I know the answer to these questions, and probably a lot of the people that listen to Through the Gates know what is happening because you talk about it on a pretty much weekly basis, sometimes twice a week. What all are we facing right now in Colorado that you're combating?
Well, I'll give you an example. And by the time that you air this and we air this, it would have probably already been decided upon, at least for the first committee. But it's just an example, and I was just telling him before we sat down. Senate Bill 62 is a attempt to where you won't be able to kill a mouse in the state of Colorado or a rat in the state of Colorado. They will take baits off of the shelves at Murdoch's and Home Depot and Big R, Tractor Supply. You will not be able to apply that stuff if this passes. I won't be able to apply it as a licensed pesticide applicator if it passes. They don't want you to kill it. You won't be able to use a glue board in the state of Colorado to turn around and either catch insects because you might catch a mouse. They will ban and prohibit that if this passes.
So what about a good old-fashioned mouse trap?
You can use that, but that's the only method you can use.
Fucking difference.
See, that's
sorry. What's the effing difference? I'm going to bleep that out for you. Sorry. This is just it blows my mind.
Yeah, and so, but the interesting thing is the proponent of that particular measure is a guy by the name of Mark Searles. Project Coyote. They turned around and worked on the Cats Aren't Trophies campaign to prohibit the harvest of mountain lions and bobcats. They was supportive of the fur ban. This is not a one-off, people. This is something to where it's an agenda-driven, organized effort of like-minded individuals to change the way you live. That's an example. If you look at the barrel ban that I mentioned, if you look at the puppy mill ban puppy mills. Everybody thinks that's great. But if you read the original draft language on the puppy mill ban, there's not an exemption for agricultural dogs. There's not an exemption for hunting dogs. They don't want you to buy, sell, trade, barter, auction, or raffle a dog in the state of Colorado. But we've been working on that diligently to get the language changed to where there would be exceptions or exemptions to the rule. It's not been introduced as of yet. It's been worked on, and it's been drafted several times.
Does that include working dogs, like cattle dogs?
Originally, it didn't have any exemption for anything. Oh my God. They didn't want you to turn around and be able to sell, trade, or barter any more than 3 dogs per year. Well, I'm like, what are you supposed to do if you have a litter of 8? And why wouldn't you be exempted for hunting dogs that are specifically bred and trained and raised for a specific purpose that don't have anything to do with a puppy mill? You're talking about breeders and brokers. You're not talking about pet stores and puppy mills. Some pet stores are good, I believe. Some pet stores I don't think are that good.
Sure.
I understand where people are coming from when they're trying to make animal welfare issues and stewardship of domestic animals a high priority.
Well, then that's going to translate right into our law enforcement dogs, I would think, because a friend and a guest that we've had on the podcast trains police and procures police, special forces.
And they've made exemptions to that now, but only after being brought to the attention of, oh, we didn't realize that was part of the problem. We didn't realize that that would be adversely affecting other individuals. We didn't realize that that was something we should consider. These are the type of things that I think the general public would be appalled if they fell into those categories, that you turn around and bred a black lab to another black lab, whether it was intentionally or otherwise, because we can't stop people from screwing. How are we going to do animals from screwing? So they breed. They have a litter of 12. I've had people that have had 12 puppies, 8 puppies. The original context of the language said that you couldn't do any more than 3. I'm thinking, what are you supposed to do with the rest of them?
Yeah.
But they didn't think about that. How about somebody that has 2 dogs, or somebody on the agriculture side at the initial stages of this legislation? They have a gathering, a branding. Everybody comes and brings their dogs, and they all work the pens and do everything. That dog turns around and gets friendly with that dog. That was unintended. 8 weeks later, you got a bunch of puppies running around. It's nobody's fault. Who's the breeder? Who's the broker? Can they turn around and sell them? Can they trade them? Can they give them away? Can they auction them? These are the things that don't we have more important stuff to worry about?
There's so much more. I mean, there's tents up here that people are living out of. They don't have enough food. They're dumpster diving. They're sleeping in churches. And then they're turning around and becoming an active shooter in a suicide ending scenario.
But I'm sure they used a legally acquired firearm and used it in an ethical manner. And
then
no,
they probably have a dog.
Yeah. So what happened to the dog? And now the dog's probably going to have puppies. Right. If we get into some of the conversation, if we look at there's a beaver bill, not the prostitution bill, the beaver bill,
which is
so there's a beaver bill. I want to back up. Last year, and I've covered this on Through the Gates, and so I won't bore you with the details, but last year, Colorado Parks and Wildlife implemented a beaver stakeholder process where 170 individuals or organizations were involved in that process for beavers. At the same time, they implemented a fur bearer stakeholder or focus group, and it was myself and some of our comrades on our side and some of the adversaries on the other side. We actually had 4 or 5 meetings together. Some were separate, some were together. But during that process, we were told we couldn't talk about beavers because there was a beaver stakeholder group going on. So CPW was forced to come up with 2 documents. One was the Beaver Stakeholders Management Strategy for the state, which went through its first reading at the last meeting in January. It'll be second read on the March 4th and 5th commission meeting that we're going to be talking about as well. But At the same time that they're trying to compile all this information just on beavers, which is part of the classification of fur bearers, but we can't talk about beavers because that's a separate deal, legislators are now trying to run a beaver bill to prohibit the recreational take of beavers because of wildfire resiliency issues. Now, beavers are very adaptive, and beavers are great for our landscape and our ecosystem and natural cycle of what we do for, habitat management. But they're not going to solve the problems of every single thing. And the minimal amount of recreational harvest that happens with beavers for opportunity and for management is not going to turn around and be detrimental to what beavers could do or couldn't do as far as wildfire resiliency, because of the amount of beavers that are harvested is very minimal.
I can't think of anybody that I know, and I'm around hunters all the time, that traps beavers.
There's about 380 to 500 beavers a year that are taken on public land for recreational purposes in the state.
And what do we think the beaver population is?
Somewhere between 60 and 90,000. And that's by CPW numbers.
Wow.
So, but the adversaries, my adversaries, the advocates, that what we're told that they call themselves, is that they want more beavers. Well, I do a wildlife control business, and I do beaver mitigation, and I've attempted to try to do beaver translocation for the last 30 years. Some has worked, some hasn't. More often than not, it doesn't work because of the time of the year, the elevations, trying to take beavers out of one location, putting them in another location, and expecting them to survive. Regardless of my expertise, the experts at Colorado Parks and Wildlife have said this is what we should do. And the advocates, or my adversaries, have said, we want to do it this way. And now the politicians have said, you need to do it this way. Once again, we have undermining entities trying to derail and erode and degrade what Colorado Parks and Wildlife scientists and experts have come up with on a 125-page document. Here's the plan that we have. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do to translocate. We're going to have quarantine facilities, and we're going to have processes where people could turn around and call these entities, and they can have the beavers live trapped, safely, humanely trapped, to translocate them at some other location for a specific time of year, because there's only about 6 weeks, 8 weeks out of the year that you can do it and expect them to survive. Because remember, beavers don't turn around and really eat off the landscape. They have to have a food cache. They have to have a house. They have to have all of these.
Yeah, it's like pulling an individual out of his house, dropping him at 13,000 feet and asking him to survive.
Exactly.
With no hunting experience.
Yeah. You don't even give him a knife. You just turn around and say, here you go.
Even me, with all my hunting experience, I don't know that I would survive.
You wouldn't want to be translocated? But at the same time, the legislature is saying, we need to run this beaver bill.
Well, it's so crazy to me that here's another prime example of what's in the best interest of the species is listening to the scientists that are actually boots on the ground and help manage that particular species. And they've written, how many pages did you say that?
125-page strategy management document. And the fur bearer one was 87 pages.
Okay, so what's the opposition's plan?
They want to just go back to natural and take all human consumption off of it. No management, no take.
They don't have any science behind it, right?
Well, their science is when they look at things like Yellowstone, for instance, how things have been solved in Yellowstone, they always refer back to Yellowstone, like it doesn't matter. And now they're referring to Rocky Mountain National Park. Those aren't human-inhabited locations with agricultural production. And
how about fly fishing and anglers?
Yeah, I mean, you just put everything together at every single level, and it comes back to a managing or governing agency that should be making the right decisions, that has the ability to be able to do so. And they don't do it on a moment's notice. They do it through many years of compilation and data collection and studies to be able to turn around and see the ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys of so much of what we're talking about.
To keep that species as sustainable as possible, right?
I'll give you an example. The night before the fur bearer meeting started last year for the fur bearer working group, the Center for Biological Diversity launched their effort for a fur ban, for the petition to go to the commission the night before, with a representative of Center for Biological Diversity sitting on the fur bearer working group. Multiple times, if you heard last summer, there were some commissioners, several particular commissioners, that said on a hot mic that they wanted that petition, the fur ban petition, heard before the completion of the working group and the study that was designed to turn around and do exactly what the two sides were trying to come together with some sort of ideology or consensus. But some of those commissioners didn't want that process. They said, doesn't matter what's going on. We should hear that petition. That petition is relevant. Now, luckily, the chair and the agency turned around and convinced people not to put it on the agenda and hear it. But this is the strategy. We want the working group. Oh, as the working group's getting ready to start, we want the petition. Oh, before the working group completes, we want the petition heard. They always want to get the cart in front of the ass at every single level. And I'm fearful that over the next 11 months, we're going to see more and more of this, not just in Colorado, but look at what they're doing in New Mexico. Look at what they're doing in Arizona. Look at what they're doing in Washington and Oregon. If you look at that IP28 in the state of Oregon, if that thing gets enough signatures to get on the ballot, which it very well likely might, no telling where that goes. And that will create an animal sanctuary state for the entire state of Oregon. And you won't kill a mouse, and you won't catch a fish, and you won't have a chicken, and you won't lay eggs, and you won't breed a cow, and you won't do anything.
That's so crazy.
And that's the mentality that they would like to impose here. And it's been starting and gaining some traction because Marlon Reese and Governor Polis and some individuals from the animal rights community continue to elevate that up.
If you're looking to explore your opportunities to hunt out west, maybe try Colorado. If you're trying to get information about bighorn sheep, elk, deer, private land, public land, maybe it's everything that you want to do as far as pack-in trips. Maybe it's just having a pack trip decided for you, and then when you get there, you just hunt out of a drop camp. Make sure you check out the Colorado Outfitters Association. Colorado Outfitters Association here in the state of Colorado has got a numerous amount of outfitters that are members, and they can supply you with whatever you're looking to try to acquire and what you want to do for the hunt of a lifetime. For more information, check out the coloradooutfitters.org and make sure that you let them know that you heard about them with Through the Gates, and let them know that you're trying to continue to save the hunt in the state of Colorado. We always talk about supporting businesses that support our efforts to be able to save the hunt in Colorado. Well, the Colorado Shed Company in Penrose, Colorado, just outside Canyon City, is one of those partners. Colorado Shed has been building sheds in the state of Colorado for the last 10 years and is actually owned by sportsmen and women. They support the efforts of what the Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management has done, and they also support all the organizations that you're probably a member of. Whether you're looking for small modular type buildings, sheds for your property to store the extra hunting equipment, or maybe just to turn around and put that freezer in for all the meat that you've got, check out Colorado Sheds. They also do pole barns and can do custom manufacturing to whatever your heart desires. She sheds, man caves, it doesn't matter. Check out coloradosheds.com.
Yeah,
Remember Governor Polis's beef out day? You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
That was on the livestock deal. There again, political. You're telling people what to eat. Maybe Marlon Reese is right. Maybe food is political because the governor turned around and said, we're going to have a beef out day. Where do they want to go and how do they want to end up? It doesn't align with my ideology and my belief.
We ought to have a tofu out day then.
Well, I can think of a lot of other out days. But so I get down a rabbit hole because all this stuff is just so convoluted.
There's so much of it. And unfortunately, a lot of the times it's not coming from the people that are actually affected or even live in this state.
No, a lot of it's coming from outside. I mean, the Center for Biological Diversity is based out of Arizona. Now, they've got Samantha Miller, whatever the hell they hired her for. I mean, she loses a big election, then they turn around and hire her and give her more power to do some things. Nothing would please me more if we can, and by the time this airs, we'll know, but nothing would please me more if we defeat Senate Bill 62, and if we could turn around and work through what we're going to talk about on March 4th and 5th at the Parks and Wildlife Commission meeting, if we can hold some of the things back and let science prevail and take some of the stupidity and the lunacy out of these conversations, that I'm hoping that, well, I don't know how this will happen. And if she listens to this, because they troll me just like all your enemies troll you, I hope that we could turn around and smack them hard enough to where she gets fired from that job. Let her go somewhere else. Let her come up with something else. Let her get another job. Because animal rights extremism is not a profession. It's an attack.
Yeah.
It's a terroristic attack on people's ways of life and tradition and heritage, the way people need to live, want to live, have to live, and the science backside of that turns around and provides that they want to turn around and undermine every single aspect of it. I'd love to sit down and debate her. We had a chance to, and I had other commitments, and Jerry Abker during the 127 campaign stepped into my position. But I'd love to have a chance to sit and debate her because she has no facts.
Do you
she has
think
no
that
data.
she would come on a podcast or something? Or
I don't
would it
think
have
she's-
to be a public. Podcasts are public, but
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see. It's just interesting to see. They've tried to
I
elevate
think it
their
would be
position.
great for the state of Colorado and our country in general to have more of those debates through a podcast or something. Just
I'd
a
challenge her to it,
civilized,
but you want
conversation.
You want
know?
to talk factually? I'll bring my stuff. You bring your stuff.
Yeah.
You want to give the facts and data, and if you want to continually talk about things about the will of the people, I concede the fact that the way the Wolf deal turned out wasn't the way I would like it to turn out, but I realize that we lost. Do I think it was handled appropriately? No. Do I think we should do ballot box biology? No. They talk about the will of the people, but they don't acknowledge the will of the people on 308 and 127.
Well, and it's an absolute mess right now, what they're trying to clean up and try to manage. Like, how do you...
Yeah.
You can't manage it, obviously. Like, look at what's happened in, been a year and several months? Like,
Well, since they first introduced wolves several years ago,
Yeah.
we've lost a significant amount of the wolves that have been brought in here for introduction or reintroduction. And was it done appropriately? I think if it was done in a more timely, laid out, strategized manner, it probably would have been more beneficial for the people, for the state of Colorado people, for the wolves, for the other wildlife, for the managers. But we know how that turned out, and Governor Polis tried to expedite that, and he actually even turned around and tried to push the commission to do that during the stakeholder advisory group and the technical working group when the statewide management plan was initiated. I know because I sat on it.
Yeah.
I was on the working group. I was on the stakeholder group. And I think that for the most part, we probably have an opportunity to get people involved, but there's so much turmoil on the politics side that they don't know where they need to get involved at. They're always coming up with an attack. What's next? How do you do this? You've seen the quotes in the post on the social forums. I'm moving. I'm getting the hell out of here. You should move. I've moved before, and I can't stand it. I mean, we did have more people move out than we did move in last year. Was it all for the politics side? I don't know. Maybe it was economy. But I have to believe that there's a certain amount of the population that's trying to figure out, do they belong here anymore? Or will the pendulum swing back to some level of in the middle? When Jason Mikesville said, I want my Colorado back, I just don't want that Colorado. It's not necessarily that I need to get mine back. I just like it to be in the middle to where I can spend more time doing the stuff that I want to do, how I want to live, what I want to eat, where I want to go, who I want to socialize with, as opposed to playing politics because there's 100 people at the legislature and an administration who appoints people that turns around and tries to divide and conquer for their particular agenda, and they don't care what people think or what they do. Look at the last 8 years, and if anybody's got an argument to that, I'd be open to have that conversation, but that's not the way it's been.
no, not at all. It's made me consider leaving Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I know so many people that have left Colorado for business reasons.
Yep.
That has been brought down from legislation,
Yep.
taxes, property taxes. Like, you start looking at all these things with everybody with their hands in the cookie jar. How much do you think of wildlife policy is money driven? Because that's another thing that doesn't make sense to me. It's like the amount of revenue that hunting and fishing creates from a state level, and Colorado specifically, because we're
$7.25 billion trickle down effect
yeah.
with about a $450 million agency
So
that
we
has
are 1,100
employees with 1,000 temporary intern or summer employees, seasonal employees. 961 species of wildlife, 43 state parks, 350 plus state wildlife areas. hundreds of thousands, if not millions of acres of state land that's been managed appropriately, plus the partnerships that have been built up with private land owners and entities in the state. The habitat conservation work that's done with the partnerships is insurmountable. And
it's just another thing on top of the science for me. It's like, you're going to wreck people's lives in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm. Look at this deal that we're talking about, this fur ban, and we'll start to transition into that conversation because that'll take a little bit.
Yeah. We're going to have to get cracking on it because we are burning through time. So I'm going to let you drive the rest of the conversation.
So one of the things that I wanted to do to get together with you is we are trying to drive interest, engagement, and participation for the March 4th and 5th commission meeting. Now, if people listen to this podcast in May, there's another commission meeting in May 6th and 7th that we have to turn around and deal with in Grand Junction. But the impetus of this is an attempt to circumvent the will of the people on Ordinance 308, which we defeated with the Hands Off My Hat Denver campaign. We defeated in the city and county of Denver in 2024 with all of our partner organizations, the ag community, the other sportsman community, by 17.5 points in one of the most liberal city and counties, highly populated city and counties in the state. Samantha Miller has now come back with the Center for Biological Diversity, and I told you about the petition that they filed right on the eve of the Fur Bearer Working Group. And that petition is something that the commission is going to hear on March 4th. And I will read just a little bit to where people, if they're interested in this, if they're not, turn this crap off and don't listen to me anymore, because this is affecting the same people that attempted to affect before on a local level to a state level.
And I just want to caveat on something too. Even though this pertains to Colorado, this is a national issue.
Yes.
Because it's going to go to the next state.
It's going to go to the next state, but the precedent it could set here on a variety of different levels. So we have the Taxidermy Association, we have the agriculture industry, we have counties, we have the National Western Stock Show, we have the sportsman community, we have a variety of individual organizations and sectors of society that are going, hey, wait a minute. All this was just defeated 18 months ago in the city and county of Denver, and now these 10 individuals, the commissioners, or 11 if we actually get Chris Scisco on there before the meeting, the newly appointed commissioner. Mm-hmm. Now 11 people are going to make the decision to overturn and possibly override what millions of people voted on and defeated by 17 points. Who the hell do those 11 think they are? Well, they were appointed by the governor.
Right.
And people say, well, who elected them? We need to vote them out. No, they were appointed by the governor. And the governor's termed out. So for the people that don't pay attention to politics, we can't vote him out either. He's termed out, so we will get a chance at another governor. This particular rulemaking notice says, pursuant to the authority granted under CRS 24-1, the undersigned petitioner respectfully submits this petition for rulemaking to the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission, requesting an amendment to prohibit the commercial sale, barter, or trade of wildlife fur in Colorado. The proposed amendment covers only the for-profit sale of fur-bearing parts, including hides, pelts, skins, claws, and similar items with limited exceptions, and does not impose any restrictions on the hunting or trapping of fur bearers. Commercial wildlife markets have historically inflicted deep and lasting harm on North America's native species and ecosystems. In the 19th century, unregulated markets for meat, hides, and other wildlife parts drove dramatic population crashes and, in some cases, extinction. American bison, the North American beavers were decimated, and the passenger pigeon was lost entirely. These market-driven declines prompted a national reckoning and led to one of the foundational conservation frameworks in the world, the North American model of wildlife conservation. Now they're taking our stuff, what they've constantly bastardized, and said you should get rid of it. It has no place in modern wildlife management. It's part of the Antiquities Act. You should get rid of it. They say the core tenet of the North American model is the elimination of commercial markets for wildlife, which helped restore many species through habitat protection and science-based regulations. However, the North American model, with its origins in the 19th century, excluded exemptions for the sale of fur-bearer parts, rooted in the historical assumption that regulated fur trapping would be sustainable. Today, that assumption must be reevaluated. Now, I want to emphasize, while this is a prohibition on the sale of all of the fur-bearing species in the state, I had a beer with Shane Mahoney, who helped write the North American Model of Wildlife Conservation at the Sheep Show. Shane and I have been communicating back and forth since 2022 when he came to the Partners in the Outdoor
I wanted to have a beer with you guys.
There was a lot of people that walked by that wanted to.
I left out, dude. I didn't get that invite, Dan.
Were you at Sheep Show?
No, I was at Western Hunt.
Yeah. and
or SHOT Show, I think was going on.
You were SHOT Show at the same time.
Yeah.
But Shane told me specifically that the reason that they allowed exemptions under the North American model when they wrote that for fur-bearing animals is because the market-driven side of things, primarily to decimate most of those populations, was meat-driven. It was trying to turn around and supply a meat market for a growing western expansion of human population through the western United States. People shot at willy-nilly and killed. And the tragic part of our wildlife conversation over the course of the last 200 years. Do I agree with that? No, I didn't agree with it.
No.
But I didn't live in that time either.
Plus, they didn't have the food storage that we have now.
They didn't have the food storage. They didn't have the agriculture production. They had expansive population growth, human population growth. The deleterious actions of what they did then are nothing compared to the regulated, highly regulated, science-driven side of wildlife management now. None of that existed then.
Mm-hmm. And none of that really relates to modern-day hunting or trapping.
No, it's regulated to the point now to where there's such a level of regulation on hunting and trapping of fur-bearing animals that people don't realize that the reason we have what we have, especially when you look at fur-bearing animals in the urban rural society side of things, a lot of it is that they can survive in and around human populations very well. Sometimes to the point to where they become a nuisance. Sometimes to the point to where they become depredation specialists when it comes to chickens and turkeys and small game and coyotes and wolves and stuff on other animals. The deleterious actions that were created 125 to 150 years ago are exactly the reasons the model and the tenets of the model were somewhat established under the guides of former President Teddy Roosevelt and the comrades in arms that he was dealing with at that point in time. What Shane Mahoney and Valerius Geist did was create the model itself and put it down into 7 tenets. And we've covered some of these tenets before. But it's interesting that this petition, who wants to stop every single thing that the model stands for, references the model as something that they see as wrong and needs to be corrected. They don't care about how much we have. They care about the fact that nobody actually utilizes it, harvests it, and there's not a management tool to be able to turn around and incorporate that into their ideology. Their opinions, their perspectives, not facts. There's a component of the model that says wildlife should be used for a legitimate reason. It defines fur-bearing harvest as a legitimate reason. My adversaries refuse to acknowledge that in this petition. They don't mention the legitimate reason. They talk about market hunting, the market hunting of game animals for their meat, and the extirpation or extinction of those animals 125, 150 years ago was not part of that regulated process for a legitimate use. So when we go to argue this on March 4th, and that's when we're likely to see this come to before the commission, it's probably going to be a spectacle that if you're around, you would want to see. Because I think it's going to be a line drawn in the sand between animal rights extremism, the agriculture industry, sportsmen and women, elected officials, people that care about the North American model's tenets, but also care about current modern wildlife management and resource management, that understand that we are part of the ecosystem and we are part of the biodiversity conversation, and that what they want cannot happen unless we get rid of all of us in the process. They don't understand that what CPW or what the California Game and Fish or Missouri conservation officers or whoever you look at that manages the nation and North America's wildlife, they are trying to make it better with a growing human population and a habitat restriction that continually gets undermined and eroded by a variety of things from society. And we still have more wildlife now than what we had 150 years ago. They don't look at the compensatory loss. They don't look at the roadkill. They don't look at the disease. They don't look at the nuisance side of things. They don't look at human health and safety. They don't look at any of the wildlife propagation in perpetuity. They don't look at how things were compared to now. they keep using this brown cloud mentality that the sky is falling, and if I kill 3 coyotes or 4 bobcats, that I'm going to be detrimental to the population to cause extinction.
Which it's the actually only real regulated predation or accidental death is humans as the apex predator. They don't regulate how many beavers are taken by wolves or, raccoons
the human
or whatever.
Here's the deal. Statistically, the human side of fur bearer offtake is about 1 to 2% of the total take. About 1 to 2%. I mentioned a bunch of the other reasons, whether it's predation, whether it's territorial disputes, whether it's disease, whether it's roadkill, whatever.
How about river flows?
That plays into it.
Right? You dam up the river you dam up a river, and then the next thing you know, you're flowing it off the other side of the Continental Divide because of monetary issues, and somebody needs more water than this side.
I think there's studies that go well beyond what most people would consider to be beneficial to the overall cause. And my adversaries will utilize specific locations. Maybe it's a drainage in Arizona. Maybe it's something that happened in Yellowstone. It might be something in Idaho. Maybe they reference it in South Carolina. But then they turn around and use that as a broad-based deal that one instance can be applied and applicated for every single component of that specific species that they're concerned with. Maybe it's beavers.
Right.
Maybe it's pine marten. Maybe it's swift fox. We've got 17 species in the state, and I would guarantee that if I brought 7 of those pelts in here or showed you pictures on the screen, that the majority of the people could not identify each one of those and decide what they were, where they came from, and if they can be legally harvested or if they're threatened or endangered.
3 in the lobby, right?
Yeah, I think I brought them to you. Yeah. But the people that are making these decisions, the commissioners and legislators, for the most part, don't have a clue about what they're making decisions on, and they're making those decisions on behalf of you and I, whether we elected them or not, which is a total nother conversation if you get into the elected officials, because we've got almost a third of the General Assembly that was selected by vacancy committee. They were not elected. Those positions became open, and a party of 50 or 100 or maybe 10 or 20 put those people in place. That's not a democratic process.
No.
They need to open that back up to where people can vote on those vacant positions. And if it costs more money, so be it, costs more money. But I hate the idea that individuals can turn around and just grab Bob down the street because they think he's going to be good for their cause.
100%. And I think, you bringing up that point of them taking their studies from other states or other locations, whether it be Yellowstone or something, the first thing that comes to mind is it's a 2-lane road that goes through Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park.
Yes.
It's not I-70.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So every species is different and impacted differently in different environments, and that could be from the western slope to the Front Range.
Well, and I want to mention the fact that the public perception of things comes from you just want to kill more stuff, and we always say that they don't want us to kill anything. Mm-hmm. I think there's an even balance when it comes to sportsmen and women's perspectives of what they want to engage in and how they want to engage in that activity. Colorado's mission is to turn around and provide opportunity with regulated management and regulated harvest and science, and to do that for the visitors and the people of the state of Colorado. In November of 24, right 2 weeks after the election, Jerry Abker, the former carnivore fur bearer biologist for Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and myself, representing the Colorado Trappers and Predator Hunters Association, filed another petition. This was 7 months before the fur ban petition. This one will also be discussed and voted on by the commission on March 4th. Ours has to do with science. Ours has to do with data, and it was never heard, so it's going on 16, 17 months, not been heard. Why? Was there an agenda? Is it because food becomes political? Is it becomes the way that people look at, we don't want that to be heard because it'll undermine what we're trying to do? Ours talks about require submission of the lower jaw from each bobcat harvested and possessed to be submitted with appropriate labeling at the time of the mandatory check, and require a mandatory check of all swift fox, harvested, and that each swift fox harvested must have an individual legal possession seal affixed through the hide or the pelt, and also require a mandatory check of all beaver harvested, and that each beaver harvested must have an individual legal possession seal affixed through the hide and pelt. And that would determine exactly how many are taken, exactly if they wanted to collect more data, they could turn around and compile more data off the bobcat studies that they're doing by taking the jaw, specifically in those areas where the studies are, and compile that data appropriately to where you can build some science-based data to not only argue, but prove the fact that the fur-bearing species, all 17 of them, are being appropriately managed and regulated to the best possible science that CPW has. Ours is a 2-page document. Theirs, to stop all of this, is an 11-page document. Ours was science. Theirs is 0. Stop it. There's no acceptable number. Get rid of it, and get rid of the ability to be able to sell, trade, or barter it in any way, shape, or form. I need to emphasize this is the exact same context of what Ordinance 308 was. However, they changed one thing. They talk about you can sell the product of a beaver felt cowboy hat or a fly fishing lure or a fishing lure that has fur-bearing parts on it. You can sell Native American crafts, but you can't sell the product to make the product. So if you got a hat, you can sell it, but you can't turn around and sell the beaver to turn around and make the hat. You can sell the fishing flies and the fishing lures, but you can't sell the product to make that product. That's where they divided this up, because they thought that they saw a chink in the armor from the Ordinance 308 campaign, because when we turned around and called them out on that, that's what the voters said. Wait a minute, my dad wears a cowboy hat. I've got a 100X O'Farrell hat, or you've got a Stetson or a Resistol. Wait, my son wants to fly fish. We're doing fly fishing trips next week. They're going to ban and prohibit all that? They're still going to turn around and cause undue harm to the entire industry. And that's why the fly fishing community is coming out in full force for this to the commission. And they're seeing that this is another direct assault and attack on their livelihood, not just their business, but their livelihood. And even the fly fishermen themselves, with the organizations like Trout Unlimited and any of the major fly industry organizations, are acknowledging the fact that natural raw material is much better than the plastic fluorocarbon material of turn around and putting in our waterways.
So much better.
But that's not being talked about unless the fly fishermen bring that up. These are things that the general public needs to understand, that regulated harvest and utilization of a natural resource is going to happen no matter whether somebody allows fur harvest or not. But you still have the compensatory loss. You still have the roadkill. You still have the nuisance side. You still have the depredation side. You still have the legal harvest side where somebody wants to go out and do something with it and take it to a taxidermist. The taxidermist couldn't replace that animal because he couldn't acquire that animal if it fell apart in the tan or there was something wrong with the hide and it fell apart. He can't replace that for the customer because there's no legal harvest. So if you wanted to pick up roadkill beaver up off the road, you can't do anything with it. If you wanted to trap a skunk underneath your chicken coop or pay some idiot like me to come in and do it, you can't do anything with it. Mm-hmm. You can keep it for yourself, but you can't turn around and transfer it in any sort of monetary gain for economic purposes for the commercialization. Whether people agree or whether they don't, the people in the city and county of Denver have already voted on this by 17 points. And I think if you really adhere to the democratic process, we're not talking about on Mesa County. We're not talking about Weld County. We're talking about the city and county of Denver by 17 points to turn around and shoot this down, that also almost voted in our favor, but switched their vote on the wolf deal to the mountain lion deal. There's a change in mentality of overreach and enough is enough. And we're asking people to show up at the Doubletree Hotel, Westminster, Colorado. I think it's 8773 Yates Street or Yates Place. You can go to SaveTheHuntColorado.com to get more information. If people don't show up, if they don't write a letter, if they don't provide virtual testimony, this stuff will continue to happen over the next 11 months, and a lot of it you cannot recover from.
Once it's implemented, it's there.
It's there. Yeah. And then they go on from there. Look, like I say, the beaver
no more leather couches, right?
You get into how many different things could be incorporated into this because of the precedent that if Bobby Marshall goes and kills a mule deer and you want to mount that mule deer, and then you decide you want to sell that mule deer, or for God forbid you pass away and your kid says, I don't want that mule deer, I'm going to sell it. It would be illegal in the state to be able to do such thing if this precedent carries over to other wildlife parts or pieces that are highly regulated, and they should continue to be in perpetuity. These are not fighting conversations that you get to talk about fancy people. This is politics.
It's really, correct me if I'm wrong, to me it feels like an attack on human rights more than anything.
It's attack on my livelihood.
Yeah.
It's attack on my way to be able to turn around and make a living. Look at the rodenticide deal. You don't want me to be able to turn around and provide a service to you because you have a rat infestation in your horse barn or in your restaurant or in your daycare center or in your nursing home or your Walmart or your food commodity storage, or that's eating all the wires in a dealership's parking lot in a car because they're all soy-based and the rats and the mice and the rabbits are attracted to them.
Yeah.
They don't want us to do any of this because they think that wildlife should be before us, and I think we should be stewards of wildlife, but we should be first. People first. That's why we have the regulatory agencies, to manage the people side of things first, not the wildlife side, not the pest control side.
Yep.
I believe that the majority of the people, if you gave them the option, oh, you want this bill to pass? You can never kill a mouse again in your house. Wait a minute. You know as well as I do, when you have cyclical cycles like on rodent populations, there's sometimes in our pest control business that people will say, I don't have that much of a problem. And then when you get a lot of rain, you get a lot of snow, you get a lot of foliage, you get a lot of reproduction, mice will produce every 21 days.
That's so crazy.
They're at sexual maturity in 21 days. You could have somewhere between 8,000 and 15,000 mice after 2 at the beginning of the year if nobody died. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go from 2 to 18,000 or 12,000. I don't want to go 2 to 100. I want to turn around and maintain my living standards and my human health and safety, and I want to be able to turn around and utilize wildlife resources to the best of my ability as long as it's humane, it's ethical, and it's highly regulated.
On the baiting, is peanut butter considered bait at that point?
No, because it's not a rodenticide. It's not an anticoagulant, second generation or first generation anticoagulant. Going back to that, because that affects everybody. This fur ban doesn't affect everybody. It'll affect a lot of people, and other people will figure out after a year, they'll go, hey, wait a minute, why can't I buy that? Why can't I get this? Why can't I trade that? Because we made a law out of it. Parks and Wildlife made a law, circumvented the people. On the rodenticide deal, that affects everybody. I don't care. You want to go back and look at the story. I don't know if you can pop it up, Tyler, but the homeless camp at Civic Center Park across from the Capitol, where they had to turn around and evacuate and evict everybody because of the rat infestation, and they called exterminators to come in and get rid of the rats. That was downtown Denver. Those people didn't bring rats with them. Those rats were there, and those people ended up giving, there you go, Denver cleared camps. There you go. Yeah, rat infestations. That was in 2020 and 2021. Saw hundreds of rodents with, for example, official identifying rat trees where the pests burrowed, forcing comprehensive cleanups and temporary park closures. This is something that happened in one location, but there's not a place that you go in the city and county of Denver, or in Evergreen for that matter, that if they service food or if they are open to the public, that they don't do some sort of rodent mitigation.
Especially mice.
Yes.
Us here, I have to mitigate mice in my house all the time, and our house is sealed up. You leave a door open.
We do places in our pest control business that are 8, 10, 12,000 square feet that are 3, 4, 5, 10, $15 million homes. Some are full-time residences. Some are part-time residences. They have mice, and because they build houses in the middle of a giant field on a 1,000-acre parcel, and they've got the things that attract the mice. Maybe it's a water feature. Maybe they turn around and feed horses. Maybe they turn around and feed wild turkeys. Maybe they feed birds. Maybe they just turn around and live like people live Some live clean.
Maybe
some
they have
don't.
a toaster.
Yeah, maybe they have a toaster. Yeah,
Keep those breadcrumbs out. Something's going to come and eat them.
There's so much that people need to look at and say, boy, that sounds like a good idea. Well, wait a minute. How's that going to affect me?
Right.
How's it going to affect where I go to eat? Do you want to go to the restaurant and see a mouse running around? I mean, do you want disclaimers at the bottom of the menu that says mouse turds and urine might be in your food? Because we can't do any rodent mitigation. We can't do any preventative maintenance. We can't do any baiting. We can't do any integrated comprehensive pest management. I don't want that. Not to mention the fact it's not just the restaurant. Go to Walmart. Where's all that stuff come from? It's packaging plants. It's delivery. It's transfer stations. It's commodity storage. It's shipped on buses. It's shipped on trucks. It's shipped on rails. I don't want that. And the people that are trying to impose this, like Mark Searles with Project Coyote, I would love people to turn around and get a hold of him and say, who the hell do you think you are to turn around and try to tell me how I'm going to safely live to create a healthy environment for my family or my workplace?
Not to mention controlling disease. I mean, the one place where I find mice more times than often is in the dog food. Like if my dog hasn't finished his food and I don't empty her bowl at night because I just spaced it out, I'm tired. Sorry.
You're effing tired.
I'm freaking tired.
Well, through the gates is not perfect. So.
Okay. I couldn't remember if you guys were completely clean, but I'm trying to be as clean as possible.
I got on a rampage a couple episodes ago, and I got on my side too. And we've tried. I've learned from some other guys, and some of that comes from switching gears here, but some of it comes from what algorithms and analytics pick up on. Yeah. And then if they're flagged or something.
Yeah, if you say it enough times in the first 5 minutes, it'll just tank it.
Yeah, exactly. and so, but it doesn't bother me a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people need to have an open expression, especially if they're talking about politics, because you got to vent somehow. I would encourage people, if you haven't engaged at a commission meeting, come to March 4th and 5th. We really need the support. We need engagement. We need people to show up. We need people to turn around, lock arms. You don't have to speak. Just show up. Numbers. When we did the rally at the Capitol, October 18th, 2024, for the Mountain Lion Initiative, people felt empowered. They were part of a group. They brought their dogs and their kids, and they brought their signs and stuff, and they didn't know what they were doing there. But they heard about this rally. And we had 400 people. It was 34 degrees and crappy weather. We had an opportunity to unite the fight to save the hunt, and that's exactly what we did. That's what we're trying to do now. We just need to duplicate that, replicate it to the point where I want 3 times as many people as what was there, because there's more issues on the table.
Right.
You got the wolf compensation stuff going on probably on the 5th. You got the 003, the semi-automatic permit protocol that's going to go on probably the 5th. You're going to have all the fur bear stuff probably the 4th.
And there's probably going to be some more things that are going to come up in between now and then, I would imagine, right?
Based upon my belief of the governor's interaction with this setup, he's not going to sit idle and let this type 1 enterprise agency with a commission make its own decisions. He's going to inflict his personal perspective and opinion. And it goes into the personal perspective and opinion that I talked about at the beginning. He doesn't like facts that are going to be detrimental to either him or Marlin's perspectives and opinions. That's the fact of what we have to deal with. Right. And if somebody really wants to see a cluster, I almost said it. If they want to see a cluster, then turn around and try to go to one of the committee hearings at the Colorado State Capitol and get engaged to the point to where just watch. You want to see what people have elected and what vacancy committees have put in? Go to the House chamber on a very contentious subject. Anybody that saw One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and then combine that with Silence of the Lambs and a 3rd grade kindergarten food fest, that's what the House of Representatives in the state of Colorado is doing right now.
Yeah,
it's appalling. It's tragic. If people saw what those legislators do when they get into a heated argument, I would hate to say that that's our representatives. The Senate isn't as bad, but there's less of them. You got 35 senators and you got 65 representatives. But you want to see some absolute lunacy and stupidity, Watch how these people interact. Childish, unprofessional. The civility and decorum is almost out the window. Now you get them on a private conversation, completely different people. But when they're there in the heat of the battle, somebody should turn around and video that and make some flipping clips, because that'll turn people's stomach. And that's what people are deciding on our behalf, whether we voted for them or not.
Right.
Sickening.
Yeah, it is. It is messy. We're coming up on time, so I don't want to ask too many questions to close us out, Dan. What else do you want to bring up? I think we're sitting at like an hour and 25 minutes now.
So if we go a little bit more, I want to continually emphasize this. The March 4th and 5th is our deadline. We have to have a show up of there. We have to have a unite the fight effort there, because if we don't, then the May 6th and 7th meeting in Grand Junction is worthless. We have to have two duplicative efforts. March 4th and 5th at the Westminster Doubletree, May 6th and 7th at the Grand Junction Convention Center. Some of these things will continue to be in flux, and they'll play out at different levels. But we need people to understand that the last 11 months of this gubernatorial campaign and the next 3 months of this General Assembly and the next 5 meetings of the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission are going to set the tone and narrative of what we have to live with long past Jared Polis' exit into the next gubernatorial campaign, no matter whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, which we've been talking to both. People need to realize that the actions that are taken in the next 11 months will set the tone and narrative that might not be reversible during the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or ever during the next gubernatorial campaign. This is something that we have to figure out a way to stand up and say, enough is enough. And if sportsmen and women and the ag community and the gun owners, the Second Amendment guys, aren't going to show up in full force to be able to do that, then I guess let the House of Representatives turn around and have food fights and have a Caddyshack moment and the Silence of the Lambs or whatever the hell you want to call it, because they're making decisions because people don't show up. They're making decisions because people don't engage.
They're trying to slip it under the rug because we've already voted on this, obviously.
Yep.
So could they potentially do this with the 127 initiative that we voted on in the last election?
Yeah.
They could turn around and do the same sort of thing and push it through the commission.
Well, keep in mind that we beat this in 2019, 2020, 21 on the Mountain Lion and the Bobcat deal through the commission. And then remember at the legislature on February 3rd of 22, we beat them in their own game, in their own chamber, through the Senate Ag Committee. We beat them 4-1. We put 300 and some odd people at the Capitol then. It was 4 below zero outside. They went through those processes, and then they went to the ballot. Yep. And we beat them again. We beat them even worse at the ballot than we beat them at the other times. They went through all forms of government. There's nothing to stop them from going back, just like what they're doing on this.
Just to do it again.
It would be harder for them to do because of the precedent that has been set, and that's what we're trying to get people to understand. We beat them at all forms of government on 127. Show up and help us beat them on all forms of government on 308. Help us shut them the hell up and go away on these particular issues. You want to bring other stuff up? Bring other stuff up.
What else is going to be brought up at this commission meeting other than these?
The beaver management plan will be voted on that CPW presented to the commission in January. The citizen petition that I read that Jerry and I did on the science side, the citizens petition to ban the harvest of fur, the regulatory implications of the fur bearer working group that CPW now has considered, that I think there's probably going to be some consternation from both sides because I don't think anybody's going to be happy with the recommendations, including sportsmen. But I guarantee they're not going to be happy if they don't show up. I guarantee they're going to be really pissed if they don't show up. And I think the opposition is going to be displeased as well. Nothing's going to go our way on this. We're just trying to hold the line long enough to where we can say enough is enough. The compensation claims for the wolf introduction and the losses, livestock losses, will be heard at this meeting, likely on the 5th.
Do you think that'll get anywhere?
I think that there's going to be significant attempts to change that compensation package in that process and program through the May commission meeting and maybe even into the summer. And I want to emphasize, I mean, if you just look at the commission itself, There's 11 on there now, and there's probably 6 or 7 that are vegan or vegetarian. We don't have a big game hunter representative on the commission at all.
Seriously?
Do not have one. Silva Blaney, who's the new commissioner that she got chosen, that's not been confirmed yet. She's a fly fishing outfitter representative. Gabe Otero from the Western Slope hunts. So he says at some point for something, he's not a big game specialist, has no idea, no clue about the draw, no legitimate representation for big game hunters in the state, which generates the bulk of all money for this agency to be able to manage and run our big game programs. This new commissioner has some credentials that he brings with him that we've had several different conversations, and I'm going to get him on the Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus update that we do monthly. That's a virtual call. He's agreed to get on there, but he participates in the draw, but he doesn't understand the logistics. He's an economic major from the agricultural side of things. He's indicated that he likes to fly fish and that he likes to pursue snowshoe hares with his bow. Great. But if he doesn't understand the draw of Colorado's big game species and moose and bighorn sheep and mountain goat and bear and mountain lion, and if he doesn't understand any of that, how's he going to make the appropriate decisions from a commission standpoint when the rest of the commissioners don't understand it either? That part is a travesty. The representation part of this governor.
It's an absolute travesty.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
I mean, we there again, we need people to show up, and not just this meeting. We've got this meeting, we got May, we've got 3 other meetings past that for the rest of the year. Help us get through this cycle. This is a call to action, and you're going to start to see a lot of stuff on social media. And I would encourage people, if they can listen to me long enough, turn around and don't just like it. Don't just thumbs up it and give a heart. Share it, post it, repost it, spread the word. We need people to turn around and show up. If we talk to 1,000 people and 10 show up, hey, that's a victory.
Yeah.
But if 400,000 people watch a YouTube video or some sort of post that we did and nobody shows up from that, who gives a rat's ass? It's great that you paid attention, but if you're not going to show up to turn around and help try to make change,
you got to be part of it.
You got to be part of it. You got to take a day off work. You got to turn around and bring your kid, put him in camo, put your Army F hat on, your Rocky Mountain Elk hat, put your CRWM hat, put a fur hat, wear your orange vest, put your fly fishing vest on, wear your Second Amendment hat. Let people know who the hell you are. Come there not as a protest, as a rally to say enough is enough. That's all we're asking. Just give us one day, March 4th. We win there, give us one day in May 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
Without that, everything that we did on 127 and 308 was a futile effort and was worthless if we're not going to continue to try to save the hunt.
Well, you guys always have a platform here at the Mountainside, and I encourage our listeners, whether you know about this or not, or have any stakes in the game, whether you hunt or not, if you want to show up for the wildlife and wildlife biology, support Save the Hunt Colorado. You can do that, or Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management, which is savethehuntcolorado.com. We'll have links in the show notes to all of this. And is there like a live link where people can go? Do you have to register to go to the commission meeting, or can you just show up?
No, you just show up. You show up that morning, and we're asking people to be there early that morning because, I mean, we got a larger venue than 6060 Broadway. It's at the Doubletree Hotel. But the amount of people that we anticipate they're going to show up, if you want in the room, 400, 450 people, we would like you to get there early. If anybody's interested, more information.
They'll probably hit a capacity at some point.
They're going to hit capacity. We'd still like you to be on site.
Sure.
We'd still like you to be on site. And we've got a couple secrets in the bag that we're going to turn around and try to do to keep people there and make their day experience a little bit more enjoyable. Some add-on bonuses and some food service and stuff for our side, not the other side. That's why we're serving some meat.
That's what's
product.
so crazy about the wild game thing is like, you'll have some of those Democratic people come out of the Capitol and they're eating elk and deer and advocating against
well,
hunters.
So there's going to be some changes on that this year, I think, too. So that might be worth some sound bites. But, you know, go to SaveTheHuntColorado.com. There'll be some additional posts and stuff on there. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management on Facebook, CRWM on Instagram. We're making significant headway. And keep in mind that we're talking about stuff that the majority of people don't like to talk about. This is not about ballistic coefficients and new bow draws and where to go in Cancun and how to get to New Zealand. This is the nitty-gritty of the stuff that our community has to figure out a way to support.
Don't let me forget, I have an incredible idea for you.
Okay. We're going to Bora Bora. That would be an incredible idea.
No, I was just at Western Hunt, and not really to bring this up or go down this rabbit hole, and I just feel like we've lost so much momentum. During 127 and that whole thing, you had all these celebrity hunters, and they were doing B-roll for you, and this is my call to action to the podcast community, and I know that we have a bunch of those guys that listen to the Mountainside specifically and listen to your podcast for sure, but it's like I just didn't see much at Western Hunt this year on the conservation side. Everybody's got their new bows and their new ammo and their new rifles and the baddest ass pants and the waterproof this and the all that sort of stuff. But I didn't see a whole lot, and a ton of outfitters, right? That their livelihood is dependent on that, and a ton of people from Colorado. Not a lot of conservation talk going on there.
It goes on behind the scenes, but the problem is when it comes to the decision making of trying to restrict or prohibit the hunting and fishing and trapping side of things, that it's almost like it's out of sight and out of mind, unless it's in your face.
Right.
Just like what we did with 127. For some reason, 127 resonated with enough people, and I think we started off well, and we turned around and hit the ground running, and we had a tremendous amount of support. This is different because you have to get people to go somewhere for a decision of 11 people to make the decision on. Whereas the other one was the vote, trying to get 3.5 million voters in the state to be able to do something that everybody else could see.
How the hell did we get to this commission side? Like, how did this end up this way?
The governor,
especially with nobody on the board that actually is a participant.
That's one of the errors and omissions that we see in this entire commission process. And you can look at other commissions around the country, and they have some of the same problematic things that they're dealing with. But the way Colorado's set up, well, I would like to change that, but it's not changed. The way Colorado's set up is the governor gets to turn around and pick those people that supposedly fall into these slots of criteria. But if you look at the individuals that are put in those positions, oh yeah, I like to hunt. Okay, well that's not really what the statute says. Oh yeah, I'm a Democrat. Oh, I mean, no, do I need to be? I'm a Republican. Okay, well then they register ahead of time before they change their affiliation. Some of these positions have not been chosen for the legitimate representation. And I can be critical by saying, people that have signed up over the course of the last 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 years maybe should have been there and maybe shouldn't have been there. But I can say since Governor Polis has been in there, there's been a lot more questionable appointments about representation, because while some of these people might be really nice people, do they represent me? I'm about as hunter as you could get. And if you can't get 3 individuals to check the box on something that I'm interested and concerned about, where I've been so integrated into this agency and into the management side of things, appointed by Polis to the Habitat Stamp Committee and confirmed by the Senate, appointed by Hickenlooper, turned around and sat on the Wildlife Council for 8 years and was chair for 3. I was chair on the Habitat Stamp, sat on the Sportspersons Roundtable, turned around and sat on how many other things at different levels for an 8 or 10 or 12-year period. And none of those 3 people that are selected really, I feel like, represent me. Something's wrong with the selection process.
Yes.
And people need to pay attention to that, because those people who you didn't elect but somebody else appointed are representing you, and they need to hear from you. Period.
It's the only way we're going to change it, right?
It's the only way you're going to hold the line. I don't know if you're going to change it, but it's the only
probably
way
not going to change it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
All right.
We're not asking for people to fight. You don't have to turn around and come in your ninja suit and your gas mask and stuff. We need people to show up and be civil.
Please don't.
Yeah.
That's just a scar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We need people to come up and be responsible, be relevant, be professional,
be a
civil.
good representation of our community.
Yes.
Because Yeah, you do any crazy annex like that, it's not helping.
No, and in this society that we're dealing in right now with, and I hate to revisit it, but the Charlie Kirk side of things, or the assassination attempt on President Trump, look at what happens at these other rallies and the confrontations and all the. This is something where people need to understand. We come with different opinions and perspectives to try to get to the best result with facts. And if we can't do that, we have no business showing up there. But if we don't show up, somebody else is going to liably come up that maybe is not the best representative of what you would like to see represented on your behalf.
Sure.
That's what we're just trying to get. People need to understand how government works on a very minimal level. And if they're going to spend more time applying for their license in the month of March for the April deadline than they do to turn around and try to fight for the ability to apply for that license, something is whacked in our system.
That's a great point.
I look to see everybody on March 4th, March 5th, May 6th and 7th.
Let's go. Get your ass down there.
Appreciate it, Bobby.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. Any closing comments? Anything you want to close with? Like, what else do you got? Is the calendar still for sale? Or
Calendar's still for sale. You can still go to SaveTheHuntColorado.com to get the calendar. That's the Women of Conservation calendar. We sold roughly 5,600 of what we've gotten. We've got tremendous sponsors in there. And for those that haven't seen it, there's no nudes, no bikinis. It's wholesome women that help turn around and save the hunt on 127.
And a lot of these dates are on there, right? Like this commission meeting
that's another
date
thing
is
we
on
did.
there and stuff. So
and
help you stay up to
yeah.
date
If you look through the months that go through there, every dollar that's spent.
Go ahead and accept that.
Yeah, go accept, and then go down. So there's the calendar. So it's got 14 women in that first one. We're doing another one for 2027 that's going to have 12 months in there. We got a tremendous amount of sponsors. We had Davis Tent and Fierce Firearms and Gunworks and Wild Sheep and Women Hunt and Rocky Mountain Bighorn Society, SCI, Muley Fanatics. I'm probably missing somebody there because I didn't say 14, but we have the opportunity to create something to where people can recognize. You put that calendar on your wall, put it on the refrigerator, to give it to somebody, and it's got the important dates for the entire year: conventions, banquets, fundraising, hunt dates, draw deadlines, commission meetings. Everything that we could find goes into that, to where you have it on there and you look and go, oh crap, as opposed to turn around and trying to find the website, figure where something's at, try to Google it, and find out that you're talking about last year's event. This is something that's up to date, and we just appreciate all the women that turned around and got involved in this. Appreciate all the expertise that was put together. It's a classy deal. And
these aren't just hired models. These are women that are in the space and
this
true
is what
conservation.
These are women of conservation. These are houndswomen.
Yep.
We have sportswomen. We have houndswomen. We have duck hunters. I mean, look at it. This is probably one of the most remarkable deals, because if you look at the sponsors of each month, they said nobody's done that.
Yeah.
We just want to help the cause. And, you look at Salida Gun Shop, who they have been such
Love
supporters.
those guys, by the
they're
way,
just
man.
badass.
Their podcast is crushing right now.
Oh yeah,
too,
they're just
man.
doing phenomenal on it. And they're trying to do the same thing that we're doing on that, but they're
I
trying
need
to
to
make a
have
living.
them on the Mountainside at some point. Yeah.
You ought to go down there and do theirs too.
I will. Yeah.
Because you're not.
I say no to a lot of them. Yours is a yes. Yeah.
You can do mine one day
I
and
need
then
to
go
down
over
to
there.
their gun shop just to
It's
buy
badass.
some stuff before August.
Yeah, and it's really badass. But no, this is just part of the message that we created, and we're just trying to get people to understand that we're not selling destinations, and we're not selling product, except for some of the stuff that's promotional type stuff.
But it all goes right back into the cause.
Yeah, it goes back in, but it also builds brand awareness and exposure and saturation. And we're not going to be one of the great big distribution centers. That's not in our wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. We don't know whether we're going to become a membership type organization. We're getting to the point now where we're getting a lot of inquiries from entities and individuals. It wouldn't be a membership like the typical membership. It would be something on an ambassador level if we decide to do that. Because if you look at our Instagram, we got 16,000 followers, which is giant, but it's a lot, especially when you talk about wildlife politics.
But organic followers of conservation, those aren't like bought and paid for.
No.
Like some Instagram pages.
And if you look at the stuff that we're doing on the Instagram pages and stuff, would some of those become potential supporters in some capacity? I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think that there might be something there we can capitalize on. But anyway, I mean, go to SaveTheHuntColorado.com. Try to understand how important the next 11 months are. And we're laying out a plan of action for March and for May and the rest of the summer. And if we can get through the legislative session, which ends on May 14th, if we can get through that, we only have to deal with the governor and the commission. Right now we have to deal with all three. But we need people to show up. We need constituents, voters, sportsmen and women, ag producers to show up and help unite the fight to save the hunt.
Yeah, and I can't urge you enough, if you're listening on the Mountainside side of things, you need to go and subscribe to Through the Gates on whatever platform you're watching, YouTube, wherever you like to consume podcast. Turn around and support them by going to their websites, which will have direct links from the Mountainside, and they're already there, Through the Gates podcast. But then also, like, leave a review, man. Like, that goes a long ways. That's another way to advocate and get this in front of more people that may not know about Through the Gates or our cause, or maybe they don't even live in Colorado, which I think is amazing. And I want to commend you on this as well, Dan. There's other states that are starting to set up.
Yes.
New Mexico for wildlife conservation or whatever these other organizations have followed. You've set a precedent and a model that worked.
Yes.
Hands down. And we're helping on a national standard much more than just a local.
That's a good point too, Bobby. And when you become the target of your enemy, and then you have other organizations that want to be formulated based upon what your successes and accomplishments were, that's two forms of flattery. Mm-hmm. You're the target over here, and these guys are trying to emulate what you're doing over here, and not trying to do it to your liking. They're trying to do it to their situation and their liking based upon what you were able to capitalize on behalf of them. Because as Mike Costello said with Howl for Wildlife, as Charles Whitman said, as Robbie Kroger said, how many people hunted, attempted to hunt, wanted to hunt, tried to hunt, used to hunt Colorado? This is not a Colorado issue. It's a sportsman issue. And other states have the same sort of non-resident engagement, and people from New Mexico go to Alabama to hunt whitetail, and people from New Hampshire go to New Mexico to hunt elk. This is a sportsman deal. And if we turn around and let that fall at any single level, who's going to fight for the other options in these other states?
100%.
I just appreciate your friendship and opportunity.
Oh, man, I love you, man. You're welcome here anytime. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. And, yeah, I urge everybody, these next two commission meetings are the most important.
Yep.
But then also, go leave a 5-star review, or good or bad. Leave a review. Comment.
Call me
we
names.
hope that they're good. Yeah, we hope that they're good, because that only drives the message that much further to people that might not be able to show up to the commission meeting. But yeah, both of those things. Dates for the commission meeting,
March 4th and 5th.
Okay.
We need people there specifically for the 4th, but it wouldn't hurt to be there for the 5th. But we need them there for the 4th. We need them there for both days, the 6th and 7th of May. The agenda will come out like 10 days before that, and we'll have a better idea. But right now we're telling people March 4th and 5th, Westminster Doubletree, 8773 Yates.
You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to be a Colorado resident.
Nope.
You want to do your spring break?
Bring a copy of your hunting license. If you're listening to this, bring a copy of your hunting license, and there will be an opportunity to maybe not leave site and get some food before you. But you got to have a copy of your hunting license.
Awesome.
I'm not feeding the antis.
Yeah, you got to at least put back into the system, right?
Yeah, I'm not doing tofu.
How about
barbecue.
if they have a calendar?
If they have a calendar, should we? Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Because maybe there's somebody that's listening to this that's never hunted, but they want to support us. Maybe they don't even have a hunter safety, or it's something that they'd want to do. But go and purchase a calendar, and we'll turn around and feed you.
Yeah. I mean,
or whatever's going to happen.
Anything. We got some tricks up our sleeve to be able to turn around and continue to unite the fight.
Yeah.
I mean, in a professional, civil way. That when I say unite the fight, that means lock arms, stand there, and support the other sportsmen and women.
We're not storming the Capitol.
No,
Okay.
no, not here anyway. So,
all right, Dan. Well, thank you so much. I'm stoked. This is the first collaborative podcast that we've ever done, and probably ever will do, is only with Through the Gates.
Yeah.
So honored that you asked for that to happen, and happy to be a part of that. So
Appreciate it. Sean will be happy too. So.
yeah, saved him some editing.
Yeah.
But yeah, go and subscribe to both channels, no matter what side you're listening to. Thank you, Dan, for everything that you're doing.
Appreciate it.
We got to have you. You know, you're welcome here anytime you want. And I'm sorry it took so long to get you in this last time or
That's
this
right.
time.
I just appreciate you letting us ride your coattails, helping us get started. My wife on the checkbook side of it probably isn't as happy because we had to build the building. No, this has all been good, and it's been a learning experience. But even more importantly, it's been humbling to see the outreach and the support from the community on a variety of different levels, because I think that we're doing something that people needed, that the industry needed, conservation needed, and it's starting to catch on at different levels. And the antis don't like that. They don't like fire to turn around and burn their wheat field, and they're trying to figure out a way to get the beavers to flood the wheat field so it won't catch on fire.
Well, the other thing that I love, we'll close on this, but the other thing that I love about Through the Gates is it's not strictly about conservation. There's some rhetoric, there's some good times, there's some laughs on there, there's some real people, there's some real interesting people. We've had a lot of the guys that I've met through the gates walking in this studio, then turn around and be guests on the Mountainside too, which is cool. So.
Well, and the other deal, real briefly, I mean, you would turn around and go to a show, and you can do something with Jana Waller, or you could turn around and have a gubernatorial candidate at a library somewhere. We're not just stuck to where we have to be in studio, which I'd rather be, but not everybody's going to be able to come to our studio in Canyon City, so we're going to end up doing the Riverside side to where it's like a Zoom, to where we can get more higher level guests, more people that travel around the world like Bobby Marshall. But then we can also do some stuff where we're on site, where we go to a function or an event or a convention. And so we're just trying to break it up like that, because that's the only way that, Sean and I are supposed to have regular business lives. And this is turning into something that's even more time consuming than what we originally intended. But
I apologize. I think I was like nudging you in the back. Dude, you got to start a podcast.
Yeah, and everybody else was like, "We'll help you," and I'm like, "Oh,
the
great."
Next thing you know, I was like, what I envisioned was something totally different than what you've created, and you've just come out and just absolutely crushed with it, man. So thank you, man.
I appreciate it.
It's great to have.
I look forward to you seeing the studio and coming down there. So.
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
I promise you, publicly.
Yeah, you're badass, Bob.
All right, Dan, get out there, support these guys. Save the Hunt, Colorado.com, CRWM on Instagram. Go and follow that. Rate, like, subscribe. I'm saying that right? Yeah. All that sort of stuff on whatever platform, Spotify, Apple, all that sort of stuff. Support these guys and show up at the commission meetings.
March 4th and 5th.
Yeah. Oh, another thing, the calendar, if you can't afford a calendar for some reason, the $24, you can go and view it month by month to know what's coming up. So necessarily don't have to own one of these things to.
And we'll have calendars at the commission meeting too. So.
Yeah. And the podcast is free. Go and listen to it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Bud.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate
Love you, buddy.
Thanks.
Tyler, take us away.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Through the Gates. For more content like this, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe on all of our channels.